Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Solio Analytics podcast. You can see a wide smile on my face because you know what? We had a guest last week. His name was James, aka FPL Trout. Played his wildcard with all this risk and no Arsenal defense. Got outscored by somebody in 2 million, myself. And now I'm no longer in 2 million. And was outscored by Jonny as well. Jonny, you played your bench boost. So before I go to our guest, Jonny, how was your week with the bench boost?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. I got 13 points, I think. I'm not. Right. There was a few benching decisions I would have had if I hadn't played the bench boost, which I just didn't think about too much. So actually, it might have been a bit less. But also, that's kind of the point of building the bench boost squad: is you build a 15 that you play them all. So I had like Thiago on the bench, who took 2 penalties and scored not 2 of them. And what happened? Mukiele got some defcons, and I got a clean sheet point. So that was that. So 4-4, 3, and a 2 from Dubravka. So it was actually, because I've had this squad of 15 for, I was planning to bench boost in 5 with you when I wildcarded in 4, and then couldn't, and then had a squad of 15 all the way since then. So I think actually this is about in the middle of my bench scores since then. I've had several higher scores, but also 13 points. Not complaining.
Good not
enough.
Bad.
Yes, squad is ready for more changes.
Well, it's the free life, the free mind that you have after the bench boost chip, which is amazing. Not that you're going to like thin out the bench, but it's still nice to have that as an option. So tonight's guest or today's guest is a person who's been on the podcast before, co-founder of Solio Analytics, also on the wildcard. And it's going to be a short one because Sertalp is going to say, I have the same things that I wanted to say that James said about risk and everything. No, I'm joking. So welcome, Sertalp. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. Such a pleasure again to be on the pod.
It's a pleasure to have you. I always tell Jonny, we need to have you on more. Like there's always so much wisdom you impart when you're on the podcast. So it's good to have you. And you're on wildcard this week, correct?
I am on wildcard. That's correct.
All right. So we're going to go through the same stuff like we did with James, in terms of your thought process. How did you land here? So the agenda is pretty clear. We're just going to talk about, obviously, what Sertalp's been up to on Solio, what his cool features are or what we can expect in the future. We'll talk about why you landed on wildcard 13, not 12. Why it's a better week, clearly, because you outscored James as well last week. Then we're going to look at your wildcard draft. And then it's a popular free hit week as well. So there's some really cool stuff that we want to showcase to you guys on the risk preferences on free hit. So lots to cover. Why don't we start with how things are going with you, Sertalp, at Solio? What's cool, what's new, and how have you found the journey so far?
Yeah, sure. Solio, everything with Solio is going pretty well, much better than I actually expected and hoped. And we have I'm very lucky to have such amazing teammates, not just saying this as an advertisement. Maybe I should put
you've got us as well.
But I mean, when we started Solio, I think one of the things we did pretty correct was to essentially start working with people that we love and we appreciate in the community. So we kind of assembled a really amazing team. Everyone is doing an amazing job. And to be honest, in business, in my professional life, I often work by myself, and I prefer to work by myself because optimization doing with 2 people is sometimes pretty tricky. So I'm very used to working by myself. So this is my maybe first major experience in working in a team setting. And I'm just amazed how much we achieved in a few months, actually, started recoding everything from scratch, up to this point, whether it's marketing, content creation, the UI development, the solver, everything in it. It was just amazing so far. And the better thing here is that we still have a lot of energy. We are constantly talking about new features. We are talking about how can we make this even better. So it's very refreshing because we are very agile in that sense. Like we come up with ideas. If it's a low-hanging fruit, we implement immediately. We get feedback from the people we trust, and then we push to production in a very short amount of time. And the community is also amazing. They keep giving us great suggestions. Our Discord community is very active. They ask questions, they give feedback, they report bugs so that we try to fix those. They're not always that much fun, but we still do. So yeah, it's going great so far.
And what's been your favorite bit to work on? Is there a particular, like, maybe a feature or something where you just went, okay, like, I don't know how to solve this problem, and then suddenly, I think that's what's been really fun for me, is sometimes I've just kind of gone like, we should really figure out how to do this or do that, and then I have no idea how to tackle it, and then I mention it to the team, and someone will just spark an idea, or sometimes they even come up with a solution that then I start building on again, and it goes back and forth. Is there something like that comes to mind in terms of your favorite bit, or maybe recently? Put you on the spot.
My favorite bit, I guess, it's the orange button on Solio, the optimize button, because I'm very proud that we put a lot of effort into it. So James was talking about all the great stuff he did, so I should also talk about the how we did the solver. So it was quite a bit of a challenge. When we started the journey, we were thinking that we will run some of these suggestion engines in the back end, meaning that in a server. But then we quickly realized that's not possible. Like if we have hundreds of users, and we have thousands of users now, like we made a calculation, like we were going bankrupt almost immediately. Then we kind of learned how we can solve this problem in smaller chunks and still, get very close to the optimal solution. Those parts were quite actually challenging, and in a good way. Like it was a nice, like as if you are solving a really challenging puzzle of some sort. So I really enjoyed that process. So we talked with James quite a bit on how we can implement it, how we can like make it accessible, because at the end of the day, what we are trying to bring is we are trying to reduce barriers to entry to analytics in FPL. So we think this is a very strong engine, everyone should be able to use it, but it is like putting a Ferrari engine in a, and no offense by the way, Honda Civic body. Like I had a Honda Civic, so not talking bad, but you need to make sure that it works nicely, right? So it is not actually destroying the car. So those aspects were quite interesting, and also my understanding, like coming from an engineering background, is quite different than like other people, how they see it. So we try to make it very accessible without dumbing down, because we also want people who know analytics to get benefit from it. So but particularly I should say this, I mean, even though like I am very proud of the solver we built, I think one thing that we really wanted to bring is the like bring your own belief system. We also call it the dynamic model or like adjustable model, because when people think about analytics in FPL, they kept thinking about, there are models, people follow models, to the last letter, and then everyone has the same team. So this is clearly like coming from maybe not understanding how it is, but the alternative is people need to put a lot of effort into making this accessible, right? Like we are saying people that, well, you can adjust projections and then use the solver, but it's too many steps. They need to download certain programs, they need to check the market rates and then adjust goal rates like in an Excel sheet maybe. So making it accessible once again, and then bringing your own beliefs so that you can optimization. I think I'm still like fascinated that we were able to do it, because it was our vision when we first started. And then now that it's very accessible, and actually there's a new feature that I will also show today, that we are trying to make it even more accessible and still have ideas in future that people probably will appreciate. But yes, so bringing your own like model or own projections, being able to adjust and still being able to use optimization is the bit that I love the most.
And I think just in terms of, before we go to the actual new feature that you want to show, just a little bit about analytics as we go deeper into the season, right? You had a little bit of thoughts on the robustness, on how they actually get better and better as the season goes.
Yeah, so I think one aspect that maybe people misunderstood, like obviously not everyone, is risk. Like we talk about it all the time, but I think the problem with how we approach the FPL in general is that we come up with a plan, because obviously there are a lot of paths you can take, right? For example, like chip usage, everyone is using their chip in a different way. James used his wildcard last week suboptimally. I'm using my wildcard this week optimally. Joking, but so there are a lot of paths. Like even now, I see people doing this kind of mistake that they are trying to find the best bench boost week and then triple captain week while they are using their wildcard, so that they are choosing their wildcard based on that. The problem is when it's time to bench boost, there's a chance that some of your players will be injured, or maybe they will be rotated, or because of the projections update, maybe team strength will change quite a bit, so that you are your movements are quite restricted, right? So you can maybe transfer 1 or 2 players, and you hope that it's good enough. So a good robust plan means that you can actually go many different places. So if I'm using my wildcard now, ideally I would like to land on a team where I can maybe bench boost in Gameweek 17 and triple captain in 15, or maybe the other way around, because they're both pretty good. I will try to show on my planner 3. So then the question is, how can you make this happen? Because you can solve for one bench strategy, one chip strategy, and then the other, but how are you going to combine them? I think that's one of the biggest strengths of the Solio planner, that you can actually create paths, and then you can solve for the best case scenario for both, or you can try to find an average case without sacrificing, so that if your players get injured before game week 15, where you were thinking to bench boost, you can quickly pivot to the other one, right? Because you will get 5 free transfers in game week 16, so it's much better. So that's the part that I am trying to go with. So that's why I'm not committing too early for any chip plans. I'm trying to keep my options open. But that means that I am kind of sacrificing a little bit of projected points here and there. I'm not too obsessed about it. It's fine. I don't need to pick the best team every week. If I'm having a more robust team that I can, pivot to many other places. But yeah, I think robustness is something that's very difficult to do without seeing the projections, and then maybe using a tool like Solio.
How is it that, so from a pure optimization point of view, essentially optimization is taking a series of assumptions and finding the best path under all those assumptions. So if we assume that these are the projected points and that they never change, then you can find a transfer route that will maximize those points. But because the things change, and once you solve it a week at a time, how do you use optimization to build a path that also responds to all these dynamic changes? There's this concept that there's a true, people are looking for the best bench boost week, or people will ask on Twitter, they say when is the free hit week? When is the best one? And obviously it depends on the team, but even then,
sure.
Is there one week that makes complete, this is the week to do it, this is the week to do it? How do you balance that with an approach that really does kind of find a solution? Optimization finds the best solution under the assumptions. How do you use that to find a path that isn't that, if you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, well, world is your oyster. You can try many things, especially if you are using a planner like Solio's. I think you can try a lot of different things to achieve that. But essentially, Well, before Solio, what we were telling people that solve for one chip strategy. Like if you are wildcarding, especially, it's important, right? Like wildcard 13, and then let's say bench boost 15, and then triple captain 17. Solve it, and then lock your team, and then maybe change your chip strategy and see how much projected points you are losing. And then you are trying to come up with, or like solve with 2 different chip strategies and see which players are common, lock them in, and then try to pick the remaining players in a way that where you are not losing if you change your chip strategy. So this is kind of like a workaround. So the way we do now is you kind of create a path. So you are saying that I will wildcard in game week 13. In game week 14, I'm forcing my solver not to use any transfers because I want to have some kind of flexibility so that I'm not picking any player just for game week 13. And then I am creating branches. What if I bench boost in game week 15 and then triple captain 17, or other way around, or maybe a completely different chip strategy? So when you are solving a deterministic chip plan, you are solving optimistically. You are hoping that everything will go just fine. There's no, there will be no change to your plans. But that rarely happens. There's always something happens that forces you to change your plans. Not necessarily chips, but also with players. So when we solve all of them together with branches, like optimization is now balancing between those 2 branches. It won't choose a team that's perfect for like bench boost 15 and triple captain 17, but terrible for the other path. But it will choose a team where you can quickly pivot into both ways. So again, this means that you are actually getting away from the best case scenario, right? Because if I committed to bench boost 15, triple captain 17, and if everything goes right, suppose no one got injured, you got all your transfers correctly, you will reach to a projected points that probably no one else will. But what if they get injured? Then you are in a bad place, and you are very unhappy with your chip plan. Now you need to change it. You will lose even more projected points if you go that way. So yeah, robustness is just making sure that you don't lose in either way. I mean, so Pras is in finance, so he knows much better than I know in these issues. But you are trying to actually minimize the losses, like whichever path is realized.
No, and I think the number of assumptions that go into it also, like if you compare it to finance, you are able to take reasonable assumptions now, and then yearly, if you're doing yearly cash flows, it doesn't change as much. Here, every game week, fundamental information can change, right? I mean, fixtures can move, there can be a postponement, a major player gets injured, so it's what you plan for is just so scenario planning and making these decisions a little bit more flexible rather than solo path, optimal expected points. I think that's definitely sensible.
It even changes during the game week. Like, the game week can finish on a Monday and then go, okay, what I would do on the Monday and what I would do on the Friday, both before the deadline but after the previous game week. Someone's injured in the Champions League on the Wednesday, press conference news on the Friday. Cunha hurts his head in training and doesn't turn up for the Ultragam Christmas lights and so on. Like, stuff changes live, even more live than our decisions are. Yeah, true.
Indeed.
Should we get into some planning?
Let's go into. Do we get into the feature first? What do we want to do? Should we do? Tell us about what's cooking, Sertalp.
Sure. So again, I will talk about the projections a little bit. Because we are very proud of this. In general, our model is dynamic. James actually also mentioned this, but for example, if you change the clean sheet ratio of a player, I mean, it's reflected on everyone in the same team because you are changing the clean sheet odds of that team. So if I reduce it for, let's say, Raya, it impacts all the defenders in Arsenal, right? So that was the first level. And then we introduced team projections, team strengths, because we calculate these and we actually base all of our decisions based on this, or all of our future projections based on this. We are trying to actually measure how strong each team is. And then James also talked about this, but we have this wisdom of the crowd feature where you can see what other people are thinking, where they are putting Manchester City's like offense rating and defense rating. But look at that. You need to manually adjust this, and well, even though it's not, not the end of the world, we try to make this even easier especially for people who are doing this more systematically, and people like Elevenify or Simon, they do this. They generate their own team strength models, their own player projections. So we wanted to enable such creators to load their projections into the system much more easily. So these two buttons are new on the right side. I'm not sure if it is big enough on the screen, but so this one on the right side gives you a CSV download of these team strengths. It's essentially a list of all the 20 teams in Premier League with their strength, like how many goals we expect them to score against an average opponent and how many goals we expect them to concede from an average opponent. Then, so this button is new. When you click, it says import team strengths. You can copy paste or you can upload a CSV file. Essentially, you can edit these team strengths and then upload it. We actually talked with Elevenify and Simon in the background. We asked them if they're interested in doing this, and they said yes. So we got their team strength as a CSV file. Kudos to them for helping us with this. So we can now upload their team strengths to the system and immediately see what they are thinking. And I will show you on a free hit here. Let me reduce the...
I think just to say
these are even more branches than James.
We've got more branches, more free hits, all sorts.
So I watched it. I said I should have more.
Hopefully, lots of our listeners will be familiar with Simon and Elevenify already. But for those who aren't, I'll put links in the description to their sites and their tools. They've got some really cool insights, blog posts about modeling football and all that.
So just to confirm the understanding. So what we're saying is, sometimes people say, I have beliefs, but I don't trust my beliefs, right? I mean, it's a bit like, I think, the plane should be flown this way, but you can't just make me the pilot. So it's a bit like that, where you say, okay, these projections, team strengths, they're okay. They're Solio inputs based on market information. But I like Elevenify because, his model proved right when I triple captained Haaland. Yeah. So from that perspective, you can essentially take the masses can say, okay, I want the Elevenify team strength instead of the Solio one or the market-based one or the Simon one. And they could essentially run the same numbers. And of course, because that changes our expected points, it will have slightly different recommendations. That's exactly the
idea. Yeah. The caveat is that they're doing the team strength level stuff, but the rest of it, like the player levels and the player minutes, is still our stuff or whatever you've put in. So It might be that Simon's model is much hotter on Brentford than ours, but actually he isn't specifically saying Dango and Sharda in this order. That's kind of following from some of our stuff. Just a caveat before Simon gets a player in his free hit team and is attributed to him and he doesn't like him and so on, which was not deliberate at all.
Well said.
Yeah. So this is the first step. So that's right. So this is the first step. So because there are also people who do player level projections. Because our idea is that, analytics can be used in many different ways, and we wanted this system to be pretty much like plug and play. So you can get your projections from like team strength model from, let's say, Elevenify, or if he's doing any goal share stuff, you can also maybe load them in future. But currently, this is like the very basic level. So we made the team strength adjustable. And then, for example, when I click on Simon's team strength model, you see that he has a very different opinion than the markets. Like all of these teams are pretty much in different places than what the market is saying. And then you can solve his if you solve the free hit, so this is the team you get. So in here, I should mention that, so even though like you are solving with Simon's data here so that you can even see the raw values after uploading, so you can still edit these. And the cool thing is, suppose you use Simon's team strength model, you optimize your free hit. So this is the free hit, but again, this is not only Simon's value. We are combining this still with market projections regarding goal share, assist share. We need to simulate bonus, everything. So this might be different than what he's actually recommending, just as a warning. But suppose you got this, and you can see that, okay, this team is giving me in average 67.6 points, and this is optimized using those values. You can still come here and you can choose another team strength model, like let's say Elevenify. So when I do it, the team that I got from Simon and optimized for free hit, if I use Elevenify's team strength, it is 67.7. So you can still access this, and the other way around. So if I click Elevenify's team strength model, see that there is quite a bit of difference between the two regarding like who has the best attack. So in Simon's it's Manchester City, but Elevenify has like Liverpool higher. So when you optimize, naturally there is a difference, right? So you see Gakpo in Elevenify's free hit team, but there's only Salah from Liverpool for Simon's. So, and you can do the same thing here. Instead of Elevenify, you can choose Simon and see that it's actually 67.2. Obviously worse than Simon's team strength if you optimize over it. So this is now, it's very easy to combine resources, right? Because like you can look at these two free hit teams and you can see that, well, the goalkeeper is same, Senesi is same, like the defenders, I see Foden, Haaland, they're all same. You can lock those players in if these two people are the ones that you trust the most. And then you can try to maybe figure out the remaining ones. Either, again, you can use the market odds this time, or you can use the other model, depending on how you optimize. But so the point is, now it is much easier for you to get these data, and we are hoping that community will share these team strengths model with each other. Here's my CSV file that you can load, so that I don't need to tell you one by one. I don't need to tell Pras that, well, I think Manchester United is really bad, then you should drop all of your Manchester United players. He can get my CSV file and then see it and then cry a little bit. So hopefully we are making this much more accessible this way. And again, so this is our first step into sharing these projections within the community. We have even like further ideas to make this more accessible. Yeah, I won't say too much because James will kill me, but so we are actually hoping to improve this even further so that it will be much more easier for people to like share or load ideas from other people.
What I like about this as well, to go back to our theme of robustness, is that in terms of the optimization and the planning robustness that we'll go to in your wildcard of planning what might happen in the future, there's also, because we're planning based on all these assumptions, but if you use one set of assumptions versus using three different ones and seeing what the commonalities are and seeing, okay, well, Foden's strong. If I use their assumptions and their assumptions and their assumptions and I trust them all, then you can kind of have your input being robust tested, because maybe it's like, okay, this guy's good, but other smart people are saying that Brentford aren't as strong as that. So actually he drops out and I might want this one instead. And you can bring your own thoughts in as well. Actually, like, okay, like this one, I'm not sure about these players, but in Simon's one, it's got this player, and I quite like him, so I'll boost him up. It gives you a different idea as well. Exactly. So that's good fun. Do you want to quickly read them out for the audio listeners, or should we? Each team, or are these
or me
teams?
or you guys?
I don't mind.
I can do it. We have Kelleher. So okay, I will go one by one. So starting with the Simons, Kelleher in the goal, Lacrosse, Senesi, Thiaw, Mateus in defense, Dango, Salah, Foden, Sarr in midfield, and Haaland and Thiago in forward. And with Elevenify, same goalkeeper, and then Senesi, Richards, Mateus, so same City defender. Salah, Dango, Sarr, Foden, these are the same. Only difference is Gakpo here instead of the fourth defender. and Haaland and Thiago. So they are very similar from that perspective. Just 4 defenders in Simon.
They both hate Villa. That's the theme.
No, Villa on the bench.
Yeah, Villa on the bench. Yeah.
I guess as well, like to point out, so Mateus Nunes is being recommended as a City defender, but that will depend on your own beliefs on the minutes. We've just seen a completely different lineup tonight as we're recording in the Champions League. So whether you think O'Reilly's going to start over Ait Nouri, or is this Ait Nouri playing into form, vice versa, whatever. Guardiola's had a rest now. Mateus Nunes might not play again. So, that's your part of the model as well, rather than just this one saying.
A fun thing here is that actually I generated these teams last night because I got the team strength models. I optimized it for just today's recording. I think both team had Guardiola in it, and then we had a minute update this morning, and then suddenly I said, okay, I need to re-optimize it because we also changed the baselines. Now both has Mateus. So even though the team strength idea is the same, so the team strength didn't change. Obviously, when we change the minutes, when we change baselines, the recommendation is changing. And that's what we are trying to say, because people are sometimes very obsessed with the idea that, Elevenify is recommending Mateus. That's not exactly true. He's making a team strength prediction after you put your minutes or adjust your baselines. The team might look completely different, but the idea remains the same.
And within each of these, you can still put some of your beliefs, right? So if I wanted to lock in O'Reilly, for example, I can still do that and say, with O'Reilly locked in, how does the team look under the two different models as well? So I think that's pretty cool. So good. Shall we go to your wildcard?
Sure. Oh, my
First, while we're bringing it up, tell us about how you landed on wildcard 13. How have you been so patient while the whole world has played its wildcard? Even James has played his wildcard.
Yeah, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Tell us.
So here is my idea. I actually talked about this in the Optimized podcast too in past, but my idea is that since we are trying to solve this problem very optimistically, we are hoping that there won't be too many things happening. So my idea was always try to split the season into smaller chunks. So if we have a wild card to use in the first part of the season, so like within these 20 games, ideal game week might be around like 10, let's say. So it could be 9, 11, 12 maybe, but around that time. So you are splitting it into 2 smaller pieces so that you can optimize very easily. That was my intention too when I started the season, but I didn't actually force to use my wildcard in game week 10 or around that time. I kept it flexible, and around I think game week 6 I had to use my free hit. I thought, I'm getting a lot of projected points, I will use it, and then I will keep my wildcard a little bit later to maximize my projected points, and also if something unexpected happens, I will be in a good place to use it. So my actually plan was to use it around game week 12 too. But then James said he's using it. I said, no way. Actually, my game week 12 projected points was pretty good. And one thing that I do when I'm using my wildcard that I don't know if other people look at this is how many people I am replacing. So this is, for example, a wildcard solve for triple captain 15 and bench boost 17. And then it tells me 6 players are being replaced. So somehow I'm kind of very obsessed with the idea that a good wildcard will replace a lot of players. If this is like 10 players, it's even better. I'm changing my almost entire team. So when I was solving for wildcard, I noticed that game week 13 was replacing more players than if I was wildcarding in 12. And then I'm also postponing it one more game week, which is giving me a little bit more extra information. Hopefully, if someone gets injured. So I think going into this, I was thinking, if I have to use my wildcard in 12 or a little bit earlier, that's fine. I can use it. But if everything goes well, if I'm in a good position in game week 12 that I don't have to, then I will use it in game week 13. The thing is, I also don't want to wildcard too close to game week 16 where we will get 5 free transfers anyway. So I was trying to kind of optimize that time period between 13 and 16, and then also maximizing my bench boost projected points. So yeah, in my mind, I actually combined different stuff together, but then ended up with, okay, I will wildcard in game week 13 if everything goes well. And it did. I mean, in game week 12, I got more points than James. So
I mean, this is the strategy that Pras suggested right at the start of the season, was free hit 6, wildcard 13. And obviously things changed and we decided to deviate from it, but Sertalp's plowed on. So yeah, I mean,
you are our hero.
There were reasons to pick this right at the start, but I think it was partly to get on to Salah and Haaland. I guess we'll see in a few drafts whether that's true or not, or whether
that was
a few things.
Yeah,
a few things changed that game week 13 Salah Haaland draft, right? First thing was Liverpool being bad. And the second thing is the whole DEFCON element of it made, Bruno a really good pick. Saka potentially also. Now he's becoming a DEFCON monster himself.
I don't know how he's doing this, but
it's just hard to say how can you go on a Salah Haaland structure when you sacrifice those two and potentially other defenders. So anyway, talking about picks then, Sertalp. So what's the theme here? I see a lot of I see a lot of red shirts here.
Okay, I will talk about it. Before I start, so in the analytics Discord server, we have a wildcard 13 thread that all the people who are wildcarding this game week are talking, and the name is probably better to delete team than join this thread. So they are very pessimistic, and the Paul said, I considered calling this thread Pras has a lot to answer for. So people are very upset in general, and they kind of blame you. So just so you know,
I have given my warnings. DEFCON say and Liverpool. I have given my 2 caveats.
So before also sharing with this, I tried to optimize this wildcard 13 with different chip strategies, as I mentioned.
So you've only used your free hit, right? You've got wildcard,
I only used my
triple
free
captain,
hit, yes.
Bench boost left. Okay, yeah. I guess bench boost is the one to plan for triple captain. Well, you need to fit it in, but unless you're trying to hit some crazy Bruno Fernandes haul like James is, then it's a bit easier.
When I was first planning wildcard 13, I think the plan was to bring Salah until he goes to AFCON and then distribute the funds. But then when we are solving now, I don't see Salah at all, at least in my branches. And then the best week to triple captain, at least based on our projections, are game week 17, where Haaland has 8.7 projected points, which is like massive. But if you are not triple captaining in game week 17, then triple captain 15 is the best option. So that's the first one I tried. So what if I triple captain in 15 and bench boost in 17? So you will see that the projected points are very close between different chip strategies. Even if I bench boost in 15 and triple captain in 17, or I try bench boosting in different game weeks, they're all around the same ballpark. Like there is, at most 1 or maybe 1.5 projected points difference between these chip strategies, so that I'm a little bit flexible from that angle. Like I don't want to really lock in. But then obviously there are differences between teams if I am if I am bench boosting in 17, because it means I can bring a player like Mark Guyu so that I can distribute that fund into my lineup a little bit. But if I'm using my bench boost in 15, then my whole squad is full of players who have higher minutes. So that means the teams are slightly different from each other. But I will talk about this wildcard 13, triple captain 15, and then bench boost 17 team. I have Kelleher in the goal, Van Dijk, Senesi, and Collins in defense, Sar, Saka, Anderson, Bruno Fernandes, Szoboszlai in midfield, Haaland and Thiago are in forward. I also have Raya, Richards, Van Hecke, and Mark Guyu on my bench. But since this entire team is composed of players who are playing, you will see that they are sometimes they are benched, they are being replaced. Sorry. I lost. Okay. And then in bench boost 17, you will see that my projected points are 80.9. pretty solid if you look at
what a
this
flex.
team. I'm sure James had a better one. So because like even though like I'm talking all this very like optimistically about my team value is actually pretty low compared to everyone else.
You don't say. Everyone else is wildcarded. Chase team value.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe I should do it early next year. But yeah, so there are some differences between that team and then bench boosting in 15, and then this team is Kelleher, Thiaw, Senesi, Richards, Mubemo, Ndaye, Dango, Bruno Fernandes, Soboslai, Haaland, and Thiago. I also have Voltamade in the bench. So that's very spicy from that perspective. Actually, I saw this.
Sertalp. Jonny pushes you down the river when you're buying Newcastle picks. Doesn't stop you at all, even though you're picking highly minutes risk players like Gordon. I've been there. So just don't take his word for it.
I don't remember doing that. Yeah. Nick Pope's nailed. He's fine.
And there was this discussion of Burn getting skinned by Minte. Exactly what happened. They haven't kept a clean sheet in 4 games.
Yeah. So Malet Thiaw is the one to buy this time. I haven't owned any Newcastle players all season.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. No. So I've just been encouraging others to do so. I don't think I have. No. I'm not sure I even owned that many last year. I guess Isak. And John Ruddy was my backup goalkeeper for
must have had
half the season. Yeah, I'm sure I had some of them at some points. I think I didn't get on Hall. I got on someone else.
They had a double game week. There's no chance you didn't triple up for that.
I definitely had Isak. I'm sure I had others.
Yeah.
But yeah, John Ruddy's been added to the game. He wasn't in fantasy FPL, but then he made the bench last week. This is big news for me. So my 4.0 backup goalkeeper, John Ruddy, is available. But I don't see him here, sadly. But I guess that's you do need to bench boost.
Yeah, but there's a different psychology when you're suggesting people to choose players from the team that you root for. I feel this in Fantasy US Champions League. I don't play it, but when people pick Galatasaray players, I feel very proud for some weird reason. And then last week it was pretty good, but today it was a disaster. So I'm sorry.
Was it red card loss? Osimhen, I had Osimhen, he didn't turn up.
Yeah, someone is injured. Yeah. So yes, excellent. I have some Newcastle players.
So you've got a few different ones depending on bench boost, 15, 17, 16. Yes. Is it mostly depending on when the bench boost is? I assume that's what sort of triggering it.
That's the driving force.
So how have you come to a decision about, well, I was going to say when to play it, which you might not have decided, and how to form the team based on when to play it? That's probably the better question.
So that's why I built this tree, where I wildcard in 13, and then in Gameweek 14, I'm explicitly saying not to use any transfers, because I want to keep the team as intact as possible. Even if I tell Solver to or like I don't restrict, I think Solver will prefer to roll here because I'm splitting into 3 branches. Based on my other experiments here, like single chip strategies. I identified that 3 branches are pretty good, either bench boost 15, triple captain 17, or other way around, or maybe bench boost in 19, which is the last game week. I think you can use chips in the first part of the season. And then I optimized over that. So here I'm saying that I can go either way, like all of these 3 ways. If my team is good enough in 15, maybe I can do it. And you will see that, well, I'm losing some points. So this is the robustness thing I was talking about. So instead of like if I was bench boosting by itself here, I was going to get 661.1 projected points. But here it is 660.5. So I'm leaving some projected points behind. But my team looks pretty good. And if I'm bench boosting, and then I can get Voltamade here by selling Saka and Mark EU. And then I get Saka in Game Week 16. So this is like one path where, things can go well. I'm in a good shape in Game Week 15. I spent 2 free transfers. But suppose something happened in Game Week 14 that I am forced to make a transfer. Then obviously this branch is dead now. Because otherwise I need to make the bench boost happen, I need to take a hit, which I don't want. or it will be quite suboptimal. So that, what I do as well, I can still triple captain triple captain, just saying, triple captain Haaland in game week 15, and then bench boost in 17, or maybe, bench boost in 19. So this is like probably how I will choose my wildcard. Like different strategies, I can go either direction, depending on how things unfold.
Right. So essentially, the structure is, because most of it kind of looked like, do you want a Mark Guiu dead forward spot?
Yeah, that's true.
Low minutes, low probability forward spot. Or do you want to spend the money spread and have the structure ready to bench boost at any given moment? But what the solver is basically suggesting is that actually, as long as you construct the Mark Guiu squad in the right way so that you have a route out of it in only 2 transfers, then you get the juice out of, okay, I've spent my money in, fewer players, but I still have a way to bench boost soon if I need to or want to, or
correct.
Whatever.
Correct.
There might be an opportunity that comes up, if Saka gets injured, you go, okay, great, I've got this way to make the money out and bench boost straight away. Whereas it might have been that it's like, okay, just you're not getting that much juice out of having Saka and Mark Guiu over 2 cheap players. Just
that's
start with that.
That's essentially the structure. You're right.
So let's read out this base case for those on audio. So this sounds like this is your most flexible. It's not the highest points, but it's the one that gives you the most optionality. So go on then. Let's read it out for the listeners.
So we have Kelleher in the goal, Virgil van Dijk in defense, Thiaw, Richards, they're in defense, and midfield is composed of Mbeumo, Saka, Anderson, Bruno Fernandes, Szoboszlai, and Haaland and Thiago are in forward. And again, we have Mark Guiu as that bench spot. But we also have Raya, Andersen, and one Heki. So I'm replacing actually 6 players. So I'm not very happy based on my made-up metric. But yeah, this is like the flexible team that will that's giving me a very decent projected points in either of these 3 cases.
And you get to wait a couple of weeks to decide whether buying a Newcastle attacker is the right thing to do, rather than committing to it just now.
That's true.
Good point.
You will see the light soon. But question, in terms of, so there's very limited arsenal here, especially in defense. I mean, actually, no, you have the keeper, right? So you're not, unlike James, you're not actively seeking risk and going against an elite defense. You've got Van Dijk in terms of attack. So this is, I would say, balanced risk, because I think it's a good minutes team and you're not actively rooting against some high EO player. Maybe Semenyo jumps to mind in terms of a high EO player, but I think otherwise it's pretty solid.
Oh, thank you.
Have you been factoring that in, or is that just kind of what's
like
come out of it, and the team looks like a team you might want, or did you try and? Did you move the risk slider, or is this just?
No, actually, I tried it. Actually, I think it's
all right.
here.
Is this the risky one?
Yes, the 40% risk. So
start with Walter. That's it. That is risky. Ahmad. I've not seen Ahmad in a team.
Yeah,
that's fun.
It is interesting.
What's different here? So it's not Mark Guiu.
We have Collins, I think. Yeah, and then
okay. So it starts without Saka.
That's true.
Basically, is he quite well owned? I can't remember.
Maybe in the sample we use, because we use as a sample we use Solio Analytics mini league, so maybe Saka is a little bit higher compared to the overall sample. But yeah, almost every branch is then going for Cunha in game week 15. So based on the projected minutes, I think that's the case. I was seeing him being picked like immediately, this wildcard. That's why I bought him actually last week, because I knew that I was going to buy him in wildcard. But yeah, now that his minutes are a question mark, I might drop him and then get him back.
But that means you get to transfer another player out with your wildcards. You get more out of it with your the Sertalp metric of
Sertalp metric
out of 15.
How many transfers? 8 transfers.
Yeah, if you wanted to maximize that, you should have not bought Cunha, but
that's true.
Never mind. Turns out he's injured.
And then based on this 40% risk, there's one more thing I ran, and it's actually the projections. I edited it based on the wisdom of the crowd. So I brought all these teams closer to the center, just to see, if the team is quite, different or not. And then it's transferring only five players now. It's even worse. It's just terrible. But yeah. So it looks pretty much similar. So I think we have Sar in midfield, and the remaining players, almost all of them.
Yeah, there's no double Man United attack. No Mbomo, no Cunha. I guess that's what people are thinking. I mean, anyone who watched Man United Everton has said maybe their attack's not excellent. Sadly.
My beliefs are different.
Sorry, yes, no. I've got Bruno. I've got Matthijs de Ligt, who actually had the most expected goal involvement of any player in the game. So I've bought Man United's other attacker who plays in defence.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
So yeah. So are you still? Well, I guess there's not too much to settle on just now. There's more information to come from press conferences and stuff. Yeah. But do you think is the plan to just see how these trees look on Friday?
Yeah, that's essentially it. And I'm trying to catch, price changes, of course, just to keep my team value at least a little bit
about better. Time.
I started late. I started savings late.
Semenyo's dropping tonight. You can get a discounted Semenyo, or Rogers is rising. So all of this is going to change, I guess, once Semenyo drops. No, I'm kidding. But no, I think that was useful just to understand the thought process. I think people who use Solio know that this thing changes every 15 minutes now, right? So market will change a little bit. So, everything changes. It's all closed. So it's at least good, at least on these podcasts, we're not trying to tell people this is the best wildcard, right? It's about this is the thought process, especially if you have a bench boost left. Try to think about it in a way where you can be flexible on when you play it. You don't have to go for 15 players who play. I mean, this is a good example where you're actually saying, I don't mind committing 2 transfers because I want the better team now.
Yes.
It gets you a better path. So I think these are all important things that, even the non-analytical managers should get comfortable with as they use Solio.
Yes. One thing on the price changes, by the way. Well, I hate price changes. That's
is that the one thing? Isn't it? just to add, I hate them.
Just to add. But on a wild card, I think the best, the thing I do is, I sold this, and then suppose this is the team I got, right? So this is the optimal wildcard team I'm getting. So, for example, you mentioned that Rogers is going up. So what I do is I lock him in and then resolve it and see how much projected points I'm losing. If it is significant enough, I know that I won't have this player. I don't need to think about him. But if it is close enough, and I know that this player can be optimal after the Friday updates. So I transfer them in and then try to catch that price change. So this is actually something we use in optimization quite often, because sometimes you are solving this problem very optimistically, but that the data is very sensitive, just like press conferences or market updates. So, and you don't want to find yourself in a position where you're like, oh, actually I was going to buy Rogers now, or maybe now he's optimal, but I missed the price change, which hurts a little bit. I still do, by the way. I try not to get too much stuck on past mistakes. But then I also get a little bit pissed about
the manager is sensitive, just like the data is.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Excellent. So I think that was it on Wildcard Chat, unless you guys have anything to add. I think there's a big part of the community also on free hit. Now, we did talk about free hit in the context of these, underlying models that you can have. But let's go to this really interesting, or these set of interesting charts. I don't know, Jonny, do you want to talk about them?
Yes, I can do. So I think actually this chart it's called an efficient frontier chart, essentially. So basically what we've got here is we've got 2 axes. So we've got a projected points axis going up, and we've got our relative risk axis going across. And every possible free hit team fits somewhere within this big black blob because it's, well, assuming you don't pick a player with, I think we filtered out players who've got less than like 45 projected minutes, because you could pick a team of 15 players who don't get any points. But any free hit team you might consider is probably going to fit somewhere on this chart. It's going to have projected points at most, what's that, 64-ish, 65, and above 25. I don't think you're going to pick one that's 25, but every time you're picking a set of players, it also has inherently a range of outcomes that it might score, both in itself, but also relative to the field. Like, it's all well and good going, okay, well, this is going to score 100 points, but if the field is scoring 150 points, that's not so good. But if you're going to go, this one scores 80 points, but the field scores 60, then that's better, even though it's less points. So essentially what you can do is you can pick where on this blob you want to kind of aim your free hit to be. So this one that we've got at the top is just going like, I don't care about whether I'm moving the standard deviation right or left. Like, I'll just let it pick the best projected points without adding any factor towards that. And this is using our projected points model. This is the Solio model, Solio minute, Solio whatever. Obviously, this will change by the weekend. We've got Lucadinha in there, who might be a minute's risk, so you might want to go, okay, I'm going to get Matty Cash instead because he came off at half time. But it's got Kelleher, Gvardiol, Collins, Virgil, Digne, Salah, Foden, Gakpo, Sarr, Dango, and Haaland. So it's not a specifically template free hit, but it's got a lot of the key players that you would have in normally. If anyone who watched the Risk FPL Optimized podcast that me and Sertalp and James and FPL President Sigurd did a couple of seasons ago, this is when, I think it's when FPL Challenge had come out, and James had got very interested in solving for max chance of winning FPL Challenge. So basically, it's a free hit with different constraints, and you're trying to have a team that, I don't care if it does terribly because it's a new team next week. You're not carrying your points over. So like, if a team might come last very often but wins more often than any other team, that's a good team. Whereas free hits in a season, like, you do want to raise the floor up a little bit, because a bad free hit can derail the whole season. Well, not the whole season, you know what I mean? So free hits are tricky in that sense, in that, yes, you want to maximize your outcomes for 1 week, but actually all the points count towards the season. So like, if it goes wrong, it's affecting your season. So you still want to have your opportunity to get up to these higher points. So if you want to increase the chance that your team can access these higher points more often, it will also increase the chance of accessing lower points more often relative to the field. So that's one of these ones over to the right-hand side. So essentially, this is maximizing the dots that you can see are the teams.
Yeah, I was going to say the red dot is the key thing. The orange dot, seeing here.
Yeah, that's where this one sits on this frontier. And the teams on the frontier, this team, there's no team that exists under these projected points that is better at both projected points and relative risk. Any team that's better at projected points has less relative risk, and any team that has more relative risk has less projected points, if you see what I mean. Like, it has to go further round the circle. It can't go further top right or further top left or whichever direction. So this one's a little bit different. There's no Thiago. It's got double Villa defense, double Brentford defense. But other than that, I think it's kind of the same. I can't remember who else has changed.
So the risk. So if you go back to the last one, so the risk that you're taking against the crowd in this one is you don't have City defense, right? Because
this
City
one doesn't
defense
have
is going to
either,
be popular.
Yeah.
And so you're going against that, and you're also balancing a little bit that you have higher owned Sarr. Anyone else higher owned? Maybe Van Dijk, but that's it. But then if you go back
Van
to
Dijk
the right,
stays in, so you drop out Gvardiol. You swap Kelleher for Martinez and put Van der Bergen.
So essentially, clean sheet odds are similar. You're saying I'll go against City defense and hope to get lucky by going double Villa defense.
And you swap Sarr to Bruno, who fewer people own but has fairly similar projected points. So you've dropped a little in your total projected points. You can see, like, on this chart, it's around 62? Sort of eye reading it there. So you're sacrificing a couple of projected points to have a much wider range of outcomes against the field. So the chance of you getting a big gap on the field has increased. But your average outcome has decreased slightly. But you can keep going. You can go further around. So we've got a team over here that's got triple city defense. So this is sort of like way over. So you are now under
highest
60
risk.
Points. Yeah, this is like, so you can
incredible.
go even riskier than this, but like this is one that's very risky, but still has good projected points. So it's lower, it's below 60, but it's not a bad free hit.
It's not terrible.
Like, yeah, you're not like expecting this to not score many points. Sometimes you look at your workmate team, and it's like, oh, they've had a bad week. But you look at the team and it's like, oh, they forgot to move this guy out. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. So if this one does badly, I think you'd say, okay, they've been a bit unlucky to. But yeah, I think what it loves doing is it loves tripling up on defenses because they correlate so well. They share points. As soon as City keep a clean sheet, you've got 18 points off the bat, plus any attacking returns that Nunez and Gvardiol get or bonus or whatever. It's got triple Villa, who are lowly owned as well. So I don't know how many free hitters will have Villa defense, or I mean, almost no one owns a Villa defender generally. And no Haaland, obviously, with triple City defense.
The biggest one.
The biggest
you're basically going against 170% EO, but you're not giving up. So if you think about Haaland captain in your 12 players that you put out every week, because the captain is the 12th, instead of 2 Haalands, now you have 1 extra Salah and you have 1 extra City defender, which nobody else can have if they're on Haaland captain. So that's the risk that you're taking for people who are listening to this and thinking that's stupid. That's the point. That it looks stupid, but it's not. But
yeah.
No, but
you're right.
You're taking
it's
huge
just a
risk.
juxtaposition. Yeah.
If you're taking huge risk on paper, it looks silly. But I think that's the point of risk, where what we're trying to say is, if this red dot or this orange dot was somewhere at 40, right, then that goes into the stupid category. I think the fact that it's still holding its own, and you're still, because of the triple City defense, which nobody can have if you have Haaland by definition, and Salah captain, which nobody can have by definition if you're on Haaland captain, it's not too bad. And if it was one single game week and 1 game week only, and only one person gets the prize, then actually this is more sensible than you picking everybody having Haaland captain.
And the chance of Haaland blanking is relatively, like, it's the lowest individual chance of any single player blanking, but we expect a lot of the players to blank, and Haaland will blank a third of the time-ish, like, just to throw a number out there. That's still quite high. That's still quite often. So in the event that Haaland blanks and City keep a clean sheet, which is unlikely in and of itself, but still fairly plausible, and Salah gets a goal, you're flying, you're off. You've got, way points on the field. So when you win big. You're off. You've got this huge gap. And actually, when you lose, you probably don't lose all that much. Like, if Haaland scores and City keep a clean sheet, like, you've lost a bit. You've lost to the triple captainers, who, getting lots of points there. But you've just got different points. You have got less of them. But if you get 2 clean sheets here and Haaland scores and Salah scores, you're actually running them pretty close, if not still getting ahead, even though you missed out on this big one. So yeah, it's a bet that Haaland doesn't score.
I'm going to caveat this once more, people listening. We're not recommending this team. This is about sharing, because I know the comments we'll get, guys. No one is going without Haaland. Stop it, guys. I don't want these comments. That's the point, right?
I will mention something here for those people. So when we are solving these, like, you can increase the risk and you can get a free hit like this. But if you think that, going without Haaland is still too much risk for me, or like, you don't want it, you don't want to hate yourself if he gets a hat-trick, so you can force him in and then solve it still with higher risk. Then that team will have Haaland but still have these kind of like crazy high risk. What happens is that this black region on the screen, if you're watching, is possible of every team you can generate. Every team is inside here, but the moment you lock Haaland in, the area actually shrinks a little bit, because there are a lot of dots that doesn't have Haaland in it, and this is one of them. They will become infeasible, right? They will be out of the region. So when you optimize, you can still get something very close, but with Haaland in it. So in order to increase your risk, you don't have to like necessarily drop Haaland, but obviously it helps quite a bit in this case if that's what you are.
You can work out what you're emotionally prepared to do. I guess is partly what you'd say. Like, so you're like, I want a lot of risk, but like, I don't think I could take Haaland scoring. I know how much that specific outcome would hurt me rather than just losing the points. I'd be like, oh, that's so silly. I should have got him in. So yeah, you might end up with one that's a bit more like this, but you can even get ones that are a little bit further. You don't have to be on the frontier as well. And also the frontier depends on all the assumptions on the team strengths. And so like if I put 11Ify's or Simon's team strengths in, then the shape of this blob's going to change. And actually, anything that's in that kind of band around the top right is like still a very good team. And actually sometimes they're in a similar area of the blob, the frontier, the blob. But the teams are like completely different. So it ends up in a similar sort of area, but actually it's not like it's just gone, oh, we'll have Konate instead of Virgil. It's gone like, oh, it's a whole new structure, or it's a whole different triple defense or whatever. And you can also go the other way. Like you can kind of go to the left of this one and go like, okay, like I'm happy to sacrifice. I love this one. Sacrifice a little bit.
Socks on.
Yeah, you can go, okay, like, so let's say, for example, that, you're first in the world and it's the last game week and everyone's free hitting. And you know that, well, maybe not everyone below you doesn't have a free hit and you just want to win. You're just going to cover off. And then this is based on the ownership of those top 10. You will happily forego some projected points to block some common players, wouldn't you? So if you just extrapolate that back a bit forward, the same way, if I jump back to the really aggressive draft, let's say you're the only one with the free hit in the top 10 and it's the last game week and you're 10th and you've got a 20-point gap to make up. You want to maximize the chance of gaining that 20 points. And if you increase the chance of dropping, you're like, I tried to win, that was the point. Then this is the kind of team that you go, okay, oh, he won from kind of out of nowhere and he, picked a team rather than like, oh yeah, he had Haaland and everyone else, but he had this one player. Like it's unlikely to happen. It does happen. But yeah, this is your like covering one. So yeah, I think Pras was joking that he thought that this looked like his team, and then I realized that actually this is 10 of 11, my current team. So I've covered off those safe free hitters.
Looking at this, I have decided that I'm free hitting this week without playing the chip. I'm just a low risk free hitter. That's it. So
I am free hitting in spirit. Yeah. So
it's free hit. Don't need to spend a chip.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not even going to play it. I'm going to burn my free hit later. So it's Raya, Senesi, Richards, Mukiele, Saka, Semenyo, Sarr, Bruno Fernandes, Ndiaye, Haaland, Mateta. So obviously that's going to depend slightly on, the samples that you're using and the effective ownership that you're using, and again on your team strength stuff. So like actually you might swap Mukiele for another popular defender, might put Virgil in. I don't quite know, but you can look at your mini leagues as well. You can go like, okay, like, am I trying to free hit against these people or am I trying to free hit against the overall sample, and go like, okay, well, everyone's got Semenyo and I don't, and I want to cover that off and then be risky around it. You can like start tweaking it as well. But I think this is a really nice visual to think about, where am I trying to put my free hit? And it still makes sense as well, like longer term. Like obviously the shape is going to change a lot more over a multi-period, multi-game week thing, because every game week stuff changes and, you're aiming in this direction, but something's going to block you and you have to fix something else. But you can think about, where am I aiming with my team? Like your wildcard setup, you can kind of think about like which part of it, like there's wildcards for this shape as well. And obviously by the time you get to next week, the shape's changed and it isn't this best one and that one's better and that one's injured and so on. But I think it's a nice
wildcards, I suppose, are like 3-dimensional, right? Because they're also taking you through paths. Some paths are taking you more towards risk, some are so.
It's probably,
but free hit is easier to sort of show on this, and I love this, by the way. This might be my favorite free hit display ever. So
we'll have a 4-dimensional wildcard shape available for Sertalp soon. But right now we'll have to settle with a free hit 13 blob. But yes, anything else to add on these ones?
Oh, it looks great, yeah.
No? Or should we get to...
I love these convex hulls, yeah. They're very fun to check.
What have we got left? Is it mine and your teams?
Let's do teams. Yep, let's do that. Unless anything else, Sertalp, from you to add?
So just wanted to say one thing about this whole risk-taking stuff. So I was just thinking that, if my suppose like wildcard goes bad or like free hit, if I take a lot of risk and then it goes bad, I get quite upset, when things don't go like my way. But then I realized that I can always run an experiment. Like, what if I took a risk based on the projected points and then, how it could have turned out? I can always generate these data points. But when you pick a team and then you are just feeling those like emotions, either disappointment or like you are feeling really good, if Haaland blanks and then you have triple like City defense getting clean sheet, I really prefer those extremes a little bit, even though sometimes I'm really upset and then I just turn off everything. I think it makes it quite fun because, well, I'm not saying that free hit people should take a lot of risk, but that's my first tendency. It's just one game week. I'm like at this point of the season, it's not even like you are too far, and those things are not that real, right? Because the point gap between other people are not that high right now. So, but yeah, I have this tendency of like going for the extremes and then hoping that I will have a really good game week. But at least, at worst, at least I'm, feeling very strongly about FPL, which is a win in my book.
Awesome.
It's the hope that gets you, but that's why we play. That's why we play the game.
That's why we play.
But ironically, now we are digressing a lot. But I think using projected points and models has helped me manage emotions a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you guys feel about it, but when you like now, and this is maybe a good segue to my team, if you want to start with that. Like when I think about my team now, it's not too far from a projected points model to a free hit team, maybe 4 or 5 points, and then I'm thinking when I will free hit myself, it will also be about 4 or 5 points better, give or take a point or two, right? So it's not too different, but we know that this is not how it's going to work. One of them is going to be 20 points more and one of them is going to be actually negative. Like it could be that range. But I know that when you're making the decisions that it was not so bad. So you can ascribe it more to you don't control it and you called heads and it turned out tails, and it is what it is. I think it works well for people to manage emotions, at least I find.
Yeah, I think for me, I definitely found gaining a better understanding of like what are the range of outcomes that might happen and how probable are each one relative to each other. And actually any individual outcome is very unlikely to happen specifically in that scenario, but you get combos of them. So like all the scenarios where Man City keep a clean sheet and all the scenarios where this happens. And actually, in all the scenarios where Man City keep a clean sheet, some of them involved Man City playing terribly and not, having loads of shots and Donnarumma making all these saves, and it was like, oh, they were lucky to get the clean sheet. And some of them involved the other team just not having a shot. This reminded me of a couple of seasons ago where a lot of us used to quite like owning Ederson, and people would say he doesn't get any saves. And I'm getting deja vu again. And like the opposition kept having one shot that wasn't even a very good shot, but it went in. And it's like, oh, well, they're always going to concede that one shot. And it's like, well, actually, if I think about what I tried to pick a team that was likely to get clean sheets by not conceding many shots. So then they did that, and then the goal went in, and it's annoying, but that's kind of fine. This is like, I think it helps me realize that what happened is one of many potential things that could have happened. And I'm more assured of myself of going like, okay, actually, like when did I actually make a mistake? And when did I go, I made a decision and it didn't pan out because it wasn't ever going to pan out more than, 60-70% of the time, even with a really good move. Like most moves don't work. Is it Federer who talks about, he's one of the best tennis players in the world, and he's like, I win like 56% of my points.
Correct.
Obviously, he wins like 80% of his matches, but yeah, he's not winning that many more than half his points. So as long as you can win more than half your decisions, then most of the decisions go wrong, but the team goes well. Don't know. Anyway, here's your team. How many decisions have you got wrong? What are you going to fix it with? One transfer.
Look. So with my team, the thinking is that my team actually looks fine. I'm quite happy with it. I've seen Semenyo in training this evening. I think there was a journalist that texted. Yes, James Savindra. So I've seen Bruno in some free hit drafts. I've seen Sar in some free hit drafts. Minte is just really good. I loved his performance this game week, last game week. Mateta is in some free hit drafts, the safe ones at least. Van Dijk is in some free hit drafts. So when I look at the team, it's not too bad. It's fine. It's not as good as a free hit team. You will never have it. So my thinking is, if everybody's fit and everybody's fine, then I will save the free hit and just carry on. And the free hit will be either in game week 14 if there's some lineup carnage we saw with Man City tonight, right? Who knows? There's some carnage in midweek as well. Or save it for 16 when you back against Haaland altogether. Feels like a higher risk, higher return kind of free hit where you back against Haaland, maybe get a Palmer, get Salah, get Saka, Bruno. That seems like a fun free hit. So that's where I'm leaning at the moment. We're saving a free transfer, saving the free hit. But if there's an injury doubt on Mateta or Semenyo going into Friday, then I can also play it. So that's unfortunately where I am, because I don't
have a draft ready. Much. If one more person drops out for a week, then cool, you can pull the trigger and they'll be back. Yeah, I think it sounds like Semenyo is probably going to be fine. But there was enough extenuating circumstances around his absence. But someone did score a penalty while he was not there, so I don't know if that's have any effect or not. But I mean, you've got a strong 11, and even Timber. Like, I know it's Chelsea away, but like, if he has to come in because you don't play your free hit and Semenyo doesn't turn up again, then you're not stuck.
I will probably play Timber over Anderson. I know it doesn't satisfy the gods, but
you've got Anderson coming on if Semenyo doesn't turn up. You've got someone who's okay. It's not like you're like, my first bench is Rodon or Obi or whoever. You're in a reasonable spot to have one bad event and roll then. Yeah, he's got to use these transfers eventually, which I'm saying while I still
There's
own
some
3.
plans for game week 15 when Palace play Fulham. I think that's when I'll start to do a little bit of surgery.
Yeah, how many AFCON players? You got
just Sar.
Yeah. Because Minter and Semenyo aren't going, are they? Or their teams didn't qualify. Yes, strong. And then Haaland cap, I assume.
Oh yeah, I mean this is the most solid Haaland cap as it gets.
There are some weeks where we talk about it and some weeks where we don't. That's not my team.
Yeah, Beto instead of Haaland. That looks right.
I love it. Estevao, Palmer. Bear with me.
Estevao scored tonight against Barcelona.
Oh, give me that team.
Yeah.
I typed an extra 0. That's the issue with having a team ID of 1,000,002. So here's that free hit team that we saw earlier, but with Szoboszlai instead. So yes, I mean, I've got Mateta on the bench at the minute. I might start him over Sarr or Ndiaye. Like, I think one of those 3 is one I'd bench, and then Anderson's my second bench. Could start with Mukiele, Delict as well. But yeah, I've got Raya, Senesi, Lacroix, Mukiele. Like, the team looks pretty... I mean, I just bench boosted. Like, I should have a strong squad. I've got Thiago in place already, so I don't need to worry about that. I think some of the moves that sometimes come up are getting Mukiele up to Virgil. And like, I can take Mateta down now and commit to that one. But I think I'm not entirely sure if I want to move Mateta down or Thiago down. I think probably Mateta. I might not want to do it at all eventually. And just stick with this kind of, or like, Saka might be the one that comes out once there's money. Sarn and Ndiaye both need to go eventually, but I've got 3 transfers. Free hit wise, I don't think there's any real need to play it this week. I left it as an option. So like, I bought Szoboszlai last week on 4 yellow cards, and he didn't get it. And Senesi's now on 4. So I've got 2 players on 4 yellows. So I think 16 looks like a good week generally, but I'm actually just I'll bring up my whole planning tree. I'll scare you with this. I was planning for like, I mean, I don't think Senesi and Szoboszlai are necessarily going to coincide their suspensions at the same time, but if they did, then I just free hit then, because I know it's 1 week and they're back. And when I was solving the free hits, no individual free hit week looks that good, like from right now. So like, it's more likely that it's going to become a good one by something happening. But I've also now got a team that's quite likely to have something like that happen because of my yellow card guys. So I was joking I could just buy some more. Like I'll go buy Collins, I'll go buy Sharda, then I'll get 4 yellows at the same time and it'll be perfect. But essentially, like I was trying to plan moves. So this is the one where it's like Mateta and Mukiele to Virgil and Mark Guiu. But it doesn't really make my team that much better this week for 2 transfers. So I'm probably going to roll and have 4 transfers in game week 14. I need to use all of them by game week 15, but potentially even with a free hit in one of those weeks. But I
don't 2 free hits in a row.
Yeah, I don't think the team needs it. Well, I mean, I could end up doing 4 transfers, then a free hit, then have 5 transfers. Which is, I just don't know what to do with that, but. I mean, the team looks fine. I think I don't need to do anything. So the plan is to roll to captain Haaland and to figure out. I mean, yeah, I've got 2 guys I need to sell eventually. Well, that's with the Mark Guiu version. But I don't have anyone like I really need to bring in. I think there were some routes that got like Kelleher over Raya, not Raya to Kelleher, like Dubravka to Kelleher, freed up with some other money. But I don't think Brentford defense is good enough to need to do that, and I don't really want to have Raya and a 4.5 rotating for a while if I don't have a bench boost and I don't have a wildcard to do it. So yeah, I'll figure out who to bench and captain Haaland and roll and give myself a headache next week is the plan. Let's see.
Excellent. Okay, so quite a big agenda. So hopefully people enjoyed that. Sertalp, as usual, a pleasure to have you on. We need to get you on a lot more. When you're playing your which one, bench boost or triple captaincy? We'll see, because you'll have transfers to make when you do that. So we'll definitely get you on.
If you can work it out with James that you're doing it at different weeks, then we'll just keep staggering you round and round.
Exactly.
Obviously, what Chip Rob's got left.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, we need to get Rob on as well. He's the one I'm ahead of in the Solio League. That's why
he's the one you're ahead of. How rude! We used to pick on him right at the start when he was down the bottom, and you'd be like, "Oh, Chris is at the top now," but like, and Rob's at the bottom, and he's still at the bottom, sadly.
But he's catching up to me. But we leave it there. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider subscribing to the channel. It helps us out. Like the video, helps reach out to more people, and of course, join us on FPL.solioanalytics.com and see what optimization your team can do, what options your team has. You can use our model, you can use Elevenify's, Simon's, all of those worlds are at your what do you call it? At your doorstep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oyster. Can't remember.
World is your oyster.
The oyster's at your doorstep. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, guys. Thank you very much. We will see you next week.
Thank you.